Today, let's take a look at achieving your greatest goal. And what is that? What is your greatest goal? If you're not sure, how can you achieve it? So that's what we're going to take a look at today. What your greatest goal is. And once you see it, you're going to recognize it. Coming up. Welcome to the Power of Quiet, helping you get in touch with the real you. That part of you that is full of love and happiness, that's rooted in peace, power, and imperturbability. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe, because on this channel, we take this topic of self-realization and we make it practical, provable, and doable. Now, today, let's take a look at your greatest goal. And what is your greatest goal, you may ask? Well, we all have goals. We want to be more successful. We want to be a great artist, a great musician. We want to own a successful business. We want to have our ideal body weight, great fitness. We want to do things like climb Mount Everest or learn how to fly a helicopter. There's so many options. The sky's the limit. But what is it? In all these things that we're seeking in the world, what is it that we're really looking for? Now, to answer this, just get a picture of one of your goals. Get a picture of a big goal that you have. Now, this could be a goal that you're really serious about, something that you're working on. Or it could be something that's just like a wild idea, like, wow, that'd be great if that happened. All right, so just get a picture of that. And get a picture of yourself having this goal. Imagine that. And see yourself where it's already done. You've achieved it. And notice what you look like. And notice how you feel. It's a pretty awesome feeling. Like this awesome sense of accomplishment, self-satisfaction, happiness, right? Now that you see that picture, get a picture of where you are now. And notice what you look like, how you feel about yourself, and see if it's a little bit different than that other picture, the successful picture. And notice how you feel. Might be more of a sense of incompleteness, longing, waiting, wishing. And there's also maybe some doubt, some self-criticism. Why haven't I been able to achieve this yet? And trying to figure out, how am I going to get this done? It's a lacking picture versus a having picture. And in that having picture is really just a feeling of happiness. That's the greatest thing that we have. It's the self-satisfaction, confidence, loving yourself. Whereas now it's like, well, I can't love myself until that happens. And you see what's going on? Right now there's an idea of once I achieve that goal, then I'll be happy. And that's what keeps us striving for these goals. It's this pursuit of happiness. But those goals don't bring us happiness. Do they? I mean, just look in your own experiences. You've achieved lots of goals already. You know, some big ones, some small ones. You've achieved things that have brought you happiness. But those things that have brought you happiness, do they still make you just as happy today as they did when you first achieved them? Probably not. And that happiness of achieving it, you'll notice it's probably has been replaced with, well, that's not good enough. I want something more now. Yeah, that was great, but I need to do it again and again and again and again in order to maintain the happiness, right? It doesn't take long before the happiness that we get from something fades and we're left lacking again and looking for the next great thing. And we also have some wonderful examples of those that have achieved a lot. Like some examples are Chris Farley, Robin Williams, Whitney Houston, people that have really achieved it all. Fame, fortune, and have created amazing works of art that any of us would say, like, if I could do that, wouldn't that be wonderful? Now look at where they ended up. Depressed to the point that they killed themselves. And if that isn't a wake-up call to say, look, all these goals, all these things that you're looking for to make you happy, it doesn't work that way. You never find happiness that way. Now let's go back to this idea. Well, once I get that, I'll be happy. Now you notice what happens when you do achieve the goal. You decide, hey, now I can be happy. And there you feel happy, right? So what if it's been your decision all along to be happy? And why wait for some event to happen, some circumstance to be a certain way for you to be happy? If it's your decision, what's stopping you from being happy right now? That's a good question. And part of the problem here, the thing that's stopping you, is listening to that friend, your mind. You know, that little voice in your head, your little confidant that's always giving you advice, always telling you what to watch out for, what to be careful of, what to want, what's going to make you happy. And your mind is giving you orders and having you run around searching for happiness. And it's your mind that is also at the same time criticizing you, judging you, keeping you dissatisfied, right? Now just listen to your mind. How often does it really say anything nice? No, not that much. There's a lot of complaining and negativity that goes on in the mind, and lots of fear and worry. That mind has a tendency to motivate you with negativity. And how fun is that? And that shows how just by listening to that mind, we end up depressed, feeling like, well, there's no point to it all, and we just want to kill ourselves. That's what we get by listening to this thing. But notice this. Who owns that mind? Now you have this sound in your head, this voice that talks to you. Who's the owner? You are, aren't you? That mind doesn't belong to anybody else but you. You're the owner. And isn't it silly? If you own that voice in your head, it belongs to you. It's silly to take orders from it. Let it boss you around, especially when it's leading you down a path to unhappiness. But now, notice who you are. Now all you have to do is just pay attention to your mind for a moment. This little voice. And it might sound sometimes like it has good ideas, that it's smart, that it's saying, don't worry, I got your back. I know what's right, right? And it's always, whispering in your ear. Who's listening to it? Pay attention to that for a moment. Who are you? Who that voice is talking to? Now, it's kind of tough to put a finger on that because that part of you, it has no body. It has no beginning, no end. It really has no past or no future. It just is. It always was. It always will be. That part of you is just silently present all the time. And that part of you cannot be touched, cannot be destroyed, is completely still and silent and needs nothing. And if you just pay attention to that, that's not coming from a place of complaining or dissatisfaction. It's just quiet, present, imperturbable, and it's always happy. Now we'll get a taste of this more and more in just a second. But I just want to direct your attention to this because this is the key. It's about what you choose to identify with. You can identify with that noisy mind and all of its negativity, or you can identify with you who is aware that there's a mind, who's just naturally here, peaceful, present, imperturbable. And which would you rather identify with? All right, so let's step into this more and more. I'll show you an easy way to do it. And this relates to looking at your goals, and this will help set you up so you can achieve not only your greatest goal that we're talking about here, but all your little worldly goals too. They'll just fall in line as well. So take a look at a goal that you haven't achieved, especially one that you've been working on or wanting for a long time. And notice that sense of incompleteness, that sense of lack, not having it yet. And see if you've been disapproving of yourself for not having it yet. Like beating yourself up, telling yourself, oh, I can't. I'm not good enough. What's wrong with me? You know, that internal complaining. And can you see that you're feeding into that? You're doing it. And how does it help you to beat yourself up? And see, this is the little trap of the mind and the wanting. Because it's saying, well, if you want to be happy, get your goal. Once you achieve that, you'll be happy. But really what you're telling yourself is, until that happens, I'm not going to be happy. I can't. Until that happens. And that's your decision. Right? So really what you're practicing is, I'm going to be negative so I can achieve something positive. You see how ridiculous that is? And you're doing it. So if you are disapproving of yourself in your situation right now, where you don't have your goal, and all that's doing is just dumping negativity on yourself, that's not going to get you positive by being negative. Now, who's doing that? You're doing that, aren't you? You're making the choice to beat yourself up. And if you're doing it, and it's not going to get you a positive result, just dig yourself deeper into a hole, now you can make a decision. I'm going to be positive and love myself, or I'm going to be negative and beat myself up. What do you decide? See, you're the boss, aren't you? That mind belongs to you. Everything is your decision. So what do you decide? Well, I'm assuming you're deciding to be positive. So now, can you just make a decision? Could you let go of disapproving of yourself? And it's just a decision, yes or no. Could you let go of disapproving of yourself now? And could you let go of disapproving of yourself a little bit more? And could you let go of disapproving of yourself a little bit more? Just a little bit. Just a little bit at a time. And could you let go of disapproving of yourself a little bit more? And could you let go of disapproving of yourself even more? And could you let go of disapproving of yourself even more? And even more. And even more. And even more. And could you let go of wanting things to be different in your life? Because notice what's happening when you want something to be different. You're feeding into that negativity, that self-dissatisfaction in the moment. And by wanting something to be different, notice what you're holding in mind. You're holding in mind the problem, not the solution. And the mind's a creative instrument. Whatever you hold in mind is what you get. The problem is most of us don't really stop to examine our thinking. But notice, when you're wanting to change whatever it is, your lack of having that goal, you're holding in mind you're lacking having that goal. And that's what you walk around with 24/7. And you're doing it. It's your mind. You're putting that information in there. Now, could you let go of wanting things to be different? And could you let go of wanting to change the situation? And it's, again, a decision. Yes or no. Could you let go of wanting to change it a little bit more? And a little bit more. And a little bit more. And a little bit more. And even more. And even more. And even more. Now notice how you feel now. Just notice if you feel a bit lighter. Like you've lifted a bit of weight off of you. You notice that? Now that lighter feeling, number one, it's showing us that we're moving in the right direction. And that lighter feeling is also a little taste now of this incredible, joyful, loving, happy essence. That is your true essence. Covered up by all this garbage in the mind. Now we're cutting through it. We're showing up and we're taking charge now. Now let's take it a step further. Since positive doesn't hurt anything at all, could you give yourself some approval? In other words, could you just like yourself? For no reason, just because. Just because it's today. And could you give yourself some approval? And could you give yourself some more approval? And can you give yourself some more approval? And some more. And could you give yourself even more approval? And even more. And even more. And even more. And even more. And notice how you feel now. Doesn't that feel nicer? And now, here's the kicker. Just take a look at that goal of yours and see if it's more possible to have it now. Notice a difference? And notice if you're happier and if your happiness really depends on that goal. Or if it's okay if you have it, it's okay if you don't have it, you're happy anyway. You notice that? It's more of a sense of autonomy. I don't need something to make me happy. I don't need something to prop me up. It's totally up to me, and I can have it right now. Now, here's the thing. The mind might want to jump in and say, this is all well and good, but this isn't going to produce any results. This isn't going to make a difference. Sure, it's fine to feel lighter, but where's the money? Where's the goal? Look, just check yourself to see how you feel, if it's more possible. And this really brings you back into recognizing what it is that you're holding in mind. When you're dissatisfied, when you're looking for something in the future to make you happy, when you're wanting that goal, you're really holding in mind lack. And that's why it feels needy incomplete. And you need that goal. You really need it. So much that you're complaining because you don't have it. So that shows you what's going on in the mind. And what's happening now is you're changing that picture. Now it's just like, I have happiness because I gave it to myself. And so in your mind now, you're picturing having. And that's why your goal seems like, hey, yeah, I could have it. Even though you might not know exactly how, there's just a sense of, yes, it's more possible. Now, I mean, even if nothing else changed, wouldn't that alone make a difference? If you just had a more sense of positivity, possibility, even if like the magic of the law of attraction didn't even exist, if you still had to work and do things, wouldn't this get you to take better actions, even if you had to still work for it? It puts you in more of a positive mindset. And how easy is this? Now, the other thing that the mind will say is, well, you know what? It's kind of a trap to be in a place where I'm okay if I have it, I'm okay if I don't, because you know what? That's just going to leave me apathetic. I'm just going to sit around going, la, 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 I'm happy anyway, and I'll just be a hippie and I won't achieve anything. No, this is something that's completely different. Yeah, of course, we could fall into a trap of apathy and kidding ourselves that I'm happy and everything's going to work out fine. No, this is something completely different, because just notice how you feel. It's a sense of, I can. A real sense of, yes, which is a positive thing. It's something that you can take action on. It's very different than being in a state of apathy. Now, if you really want the secret of how to remove all the obstacles between you and happiness and you achieving all your goals, there's just one thing to do. That's quiet the mind. Because just by looking at it, and what we've been doing here just on this session, you could see how negative that mind is. And really, it's full of a bunch of garbage. Now, a quiet mind poses no limitations on you. Where that leaves you is just in the now, present. You're not stuck in past thoughts that you put in sometime in the past when you made a decision. Oh, I'm not good enough. I can't. I'm not smart enough. Everybody's against me. You know, all these thoughts, these programs that run in our mind. When those aren't there, you're just in the moment. You see an opportunity, you take it. There's no fear holding you back. There's no resistance to get in your way, no procrastination, no stuckness. You're free to move forward and achieve your goals. That happens from having a quiet mind. And also, having a quiet mind, if you haven't picked up on it yet, that's where you feel your happiest. Like, let me give you some examples. When you see the most amazing, beautiful display of nature, like you're on a beautiful beach and you're watching a gorgeous sunset, the sky is alive with colors, and you're like, wow, what an incredible moment. I'm so glad I'm here to witness this. Wow, right? You've experienced that before. And you feel like just so elated, on top of the world and alive. Why is that? Well, notice in that moment, you're just so awestruck by what you're seeing in front of you, there's no room to think. You're not thinking about anything. You're just there in the moment. And I'll give you another example. Imagine having an orgasm, right? That's like one of the greatest experiences of satisfaction. Like, whoa, right? And so when you have an orgasm and you're laying there, Are you thinking about work the next day? Are you thinking about your shopping list? Are you thinking about some other problem? No. Your mind is just blown. You're just sitting there going, oh, wow. You're not thinking anything. Your mind is quiet, and that is where you're happiest. And that is where you're most successful. So the goal is to completely quiet the mind. That's why we call this the power of quiet. And if you're ready to take responsibility, because all that noise in your mind, you put in there. You're the programmer. You're the creator of that mind. And if you created all this negative garbage that has been bossing you around, telling you what you can or cannot do, and you're ready to turn the tables, let that go so you can rise up and be happy and achieve your goals far more easily than you achieve them now, then join me. I've got a new 6-week course called How to Live Your Life's Purpose, which is going to put you in direct touch with the real you so you can make smart decisions and you can more easily bring up these programs, even programs from the past that you completely forgot about, that are running inside of you, that are stopping you from being as successful as you want. I'm going to show you how to dig in and find those so you can see them and remove them easily. So I'm going to put a link below to this new 6-week course. Check it out and just follow along with this point of view. This is what all of the great ones, Buddha, Jesus, all the masters that have come along, have been showing us this simple truth. And they've been showing you who you are, that you are a master yourself. Prove it to yourself.